What's up, YouTube? I'm not saying that shit. B7 S4. So, this is my B7 S4. My name is Alex Taylor. This is my 2.7 swapped B7 S4, 25th anniversary. I get a lot of flack for swapping a motor in such a rare car. It's a 1 to 250. The way I look at it is that I saved the car. It had a blown motor when I got it. Didn't really want to swap in a 4.2 again because timing chain issues. So I went with the 2.7. I was already building a 2.7 for my other car at the time, and this decided to get that heart. So I'm going to kind of break down what's all done to the whole car here. We'll start off with the engine stuff. So I'm going to pop my hood and show you guys. We got a 2.7. It is an AE block. It is not a BF block. This motor was sourced out of a B5, I don't know, in 2013 is when I bought it. It sat, decided to build it, went to school, built it there. But we'll go through the specs of the build. It's pretty straightforward. Bottom end is IE rods, ARP mains, ARP heads, stock pistons, believe it or not. Yeah, that's the bottom end. The top end is 2.8 liter heads, 2.8 cams, Freya valve train, besides valves, stock valves. Built it by myself at school. The engine was line honed and bore honed and fully blueprinted. I have all the spec sheets. I written down everything myself. But yeah, that's the bare bones of the motor. It's nothing special, stock pistons, and it makes a ton of power for no reason. Well, there's a reason, but I'm not gonna tell you just yet. Yeah, that's the engine. Ever since it was done, I've been piecing it together for years. Pretty much what started the whole thing was I was getting a turbo kit made by White Dog Racing. Back in the day, they were making really, really good kits for people. They kind of fell off, they're no longer in business. But I got their only single turbo, large manifold kit that they sold. It was going to be a proprietary thing. Once it was built, he was gonna sell a bunch more of them. He never got to. So I have the only one on this car that I know of. So the turbo kit's pretty basic. Twin gate, it is a twin scroll manifold. It is divided from the exhaust side to the turbo. The turbo is a GTX 3582R, is on a 106 twin scroll housing. It's fairly large for the turbo. The rest of it's just all custom mods. It's a custom compressor cover. Everything on here is custom as far as the intercooler piping. It was all one-off stuff, hand built. Took a lot of time. A lot of friends helped me along the way. My downpipe is actually 3-inch oval. It is not a true 3-inch round piece. It's oval all the way down. And that was to clear the firewall. It was extremely tight. So a lot of the intercooler piping, intercooler and downpipe stuff was all hand fabricated by a bunch of my friends that I know that are really good fabricators. Shout out to Ricky for doing my downpipe and the majority of my charge piping. And shout out to Tim from 2 a.m. later. He helped me do a lot of my charge piping after the fact. When we had some other issues going on, we redid some stuff and it works flawless. I don't have any blown off couplers or anything like that. This car would not have been able to make my power goals on factory-like drop-in stuff for fueling. So all custom fuel lines from front to back. The pump fit inside of my pump housing was a brushless that I use at work a lot that can handle 1,000 wheel horsepower on E85. So it's brushless, it's -8 AN feed all the way up to the engine and split off to both rails, and then returned 6.6 off to the regulator and all the way back to the tank. I have a custom catch can setup that me and my friend Tim designed. It is a triple swirl pot. It has -12 feeds from both valve covers and a -12 feed from the center valley. That all feeds into here. I haven't had any puking or any issues so far. It's running flawlessly. So one of my biggest issues when running this car, especially on dyno and at the track, doing back-to-back runs, was the catch can setup I had on it originally, which was a Vibrant off-the-shelf 2-port deal. It would just push oil too fast. It couldn't slow the oil down, and it would evacuate with air just as fast. So you'd be getting oil puke out the top of the filter and stuff. So with this catch can setup that we built, you don't have that pushing of oil through the vent. It's only air. It's capturing all that oil in the can, which is pretty sweet. Dialed the fuck in. Is that cracked? No. So this car transmission is actually stock. There's nothing done to the transmission, has never been opened. It is a OA3 transmission, and believe it or not, it is not a 389 gear set final drive. It is a 411. Audi believed that this car was supposed to be like the RS4 in sense of drivetrain, so they put all of the drivetrain related components in this car that was in a RS4. So this is a 411 final drive, which means I'm hitting 5th gear in the quarter mile, unfortunately. The clutch setup on the car is a Tilton 7 1/4 triple disc with a custom flywheel made by 034 Motorsports. The motor is on solid trans mount and solid motor mounts. The engine does not move when started. It is completely solid in there. I don't recommend this for daily driving, it sucks. But it's not my daily. The car is equipped with a Cooler Works shifter. Needed some custom fab for that as well. Knowing that the shifter arms are different lengths between O2X, O1E, O1A, all these transmissions are different. Cooler Works didn't bother to make a adjustable rod, so that was custom made. I made a custom rod for that. Cooler Works shifter is absolutely great. Slams into gear. It's nice and notchy. It feels great. Definitely needed at the track when you're missing gears like this one. Dun, 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 dun. What else can we talk about? I guess we can talk about. So the reason that this car is as fast as it is and hasn't blown up yet with the stock pistons is the fact that the car is on Motec. This was a long process, hand wired. It took me about 4 weeks to wire the entire car up, making all the factory components work as well. So this has a Motec M150 in it with a Syvex GPS traction control, which keeps power to the ground, removing power when needed if wheel speeds vary related to car speed. So that is one thing that I absolutely love about this car. It keeps me going straight. So this car is wired up for pretty much everything. I have turbo speed, I have EMAP, I have MAP pre-throttle, I have MAP post-throttle, I have oil temp, coolant pressure, oil pressure, crankcase pressure. I have ethanol sensors on it, fuel pressure. I have dome pressure sensor, which is used for boost control. This car is actually on CO2 boost control. It is not using a industry standard manifold reference. This has a tank in the back of the car that houses CO2 and uses that as its pressure source so that it's constant at all times. So yeah, the Motec really does all the work for this car. It limits torque where needed, which these engines are known for blowing motors on high torque at low RPM. So with that Motec, we can keep that torque in check at all times. But yeah, working through all the kinks, big shout out to my tuners, Jake and Miles Compton. They really kicked ass tuning this thing. They've never tuned an Audi motor like this before, and it really took a lot of work to get this thing to work. So shout out to those guys. Going back to fueling, this car is equipped with 034 fuel rails. It has ID 1300 injectors on it, which are at about the limit that they can be at right now, at about 85% duty cycle. They're about maxed out at this point. Let's talk about the interior, I guess. So a couple things. This car has most of the factory interior in it still, minus the front driver's seat. The back passenger seats of the car are out right now for weight, obviously. I think the back seats probably weigh about 75 pounds altogether. I was going racing a couple weeks ago, so I had everything out, including this seat. Glove box is missing, obviously, because every single B6 and B7 glove box is broken, so it's just not there. Probably one of the biggest things is the roll bar. So this is a drop-in roll bar. Not too sure where I bought it from, but it fit great. I got it powder coated, wrinkled black. The need for the roll bar obviously was for a harness. This car is trapping close to 140 in the quarter, so safety is key. It probably needs a full cage at this point, but this is what's going to have to be for now. Cage work is very, very expensive. One of the largest pieces in the interior, the biggest mod, would have to be my Recaro seats. This is a Recaro Podium carbon fiber. It weighs, I think, 12 pounds, equipped with Schroth Racing harness. Was that 6-point harness? Keeps you nice and tucked in there. So planted seat bracket with podium uprights. Yeah, this is probably my favorite part of the entire car is this seat. It is so beyond comfortable. Granted, these seats are really comfortable too, but those seats, whew, yeah, they're money. Yeah, I love those seats. Those seats are great. A couple of mods. Shifter. So we got a cooler work shifter. Let's see if I can get nice and close so you can hear this.
Oh, 100%.
Super solid. Got the reverse lockout on there too. Love that. A couple other things. So we got a Sparco steering wheel. I had a different one on there before without buttons. I decided to get one with buttons for use for rolling anti-lag. I can do rolling anti-lag with this car because of the Motec Sparco steering wheel. It is removable NRG. Nice and clean. This thing's sweet. This car, on top of the Motec controlling the engine, I opted for a Motec dash. We can actually fire this thing up and show you guys. I love this thing. It tells me everything I need to know while I'm driving. I also did the custom display myself. It's basically like a Photoshop plus, I don't even know what. So yeah, that's the dash, custom backing there, make this all fit up real nice. So one of my favorite things there. When you're slaying at the drag strip, you gotta have your music. You can't not have music. This car still has all the Bose in it, which is pretty sweet. So I just listened to this thing full tilt going down the racetrack. Can't hear anything but my music, can't hear my motor. No, I'm just kidding. That's most of the interior stuff. So this is the bottle, CO2 boost control. Turn that on when you want to go fast. It's nice. It lasts okay as far as how long it lasts. It doesn't last forever, but if you leave it on, it'll definitely leak out and you'll have no go juice, as they say. Yeah, Optima red top in the back, heavy as shit still. I should probably change that out. So my wheel and tire package, I did have some rotiforms on here. They were extremely heavy. They weighed, I don't know, 33 pounds a piece, more with tire, obviously. Those were no good, so I opted for these New Speeds. I think they weighed 22, if I'm not mistaken. Extremely light, paired with the Toyo Proxys R1Rs. They grip. These are good for street and on the track. They will grip up. I do spin a little bit on my Launch Map 3, but they do hook, so I love them. The brake setup is Touareg front brakes. They are 6-piston from the factory. Pretty much a direct swap onto these cars. The rears are 4 pistons off of a Porsche Willwood e-brake caliper on it. It was a Vosh Mods kit. He's also no longer in business. I wonder why. Yeah, and that's the setup. The car does not have ABS, so it has a proportioning valve on it that keeps the braking in check. Obviously, I don't hit the brakes super hard. If I do, I'm locking them up. But yeah, that's the package. It's got wheel studs as well, which if you know anything about Audis, you know wheel studs are a must. So yeah. Charge piping. Tim redid this one for me. I kept blowing this coupler off at the track. So we redid this with a pretty much solid mounted intercooler pipe on the throttle body. So that was pretty sweet. I don't know, I gotta stop saying that.
Dude, what does my tattoo say? Sweet!
Not painted yet. We just did a lot of these mods. A lot of this stuff is fresh because we just modified it. I had a lot of blow by through my stock oil cap. Didn't know it was pressure relieved. So once you see a certain pressure, it evacuated oil out of it. So I was getting oil all over my hood. So we opted for a weld-on vibrant piece to keep it all sealed up, get the oil out where it needs to go. So this is my EMAP sensor. This is a canister that we made, and it has a stainless steel line going down to the head, and that gets direct back pressure in between the head and the turbo, mainly to determine turbo efficiency. That paired with the turbo speed can give us a range of where the turbo is at in efficiency and let us know when we're running out of turbo. I guess I don't really want to take that off right now. Another big problem with the Audi being that the motor is so far forward in the car, there's not a lot of space in the engine bay. We're pretty confined with what we got here, especially with this massive turbo on here. One of my biggest problems with the turbo being at the very back of the motor was heat. So the engine bay heat temperatures were extremely high, especially with an open air filter. We had to do something to get the air out, so we decided to install this track spec, which is actually for a Corvette. I think it looks great. Looks amazing.
It's meant for a Corvette.
Yeah. So yeah, it fit great. Just had to do a lot of cutting. So I trimmed out a lot of this structure in the hood, lightened it up a little bit, but the main focus was to get the heat out. It's the biggest problem. Heat and crankcase pressure was the biggest two problems of this entire build. So, but that's all sorted now. So this car is not equipped with AC at all. So this car, the intercooler on it is, so this is a 3.5 inch top down flow intercooler. There was absolutely no space in between the radiator and the front bumper to fit a condenser as well as the intercooler, so we opted for no AC on this car.
Do you regret it?
Hell no. So on the dyno, after we broke the motor in, mind you, I built this motor in 2018 and it didn't get broken in until 2022. So another thing to think about. It's been sitting for quite some time, but it's healthy, so it's awesome. On 93 octane, I think it was on gate pressure, 13 PSI or so. It was making 475 horsepower to the tires and 373 torque. Obviously that torque number is significantly lower because of torque control. They didn't even want to bother with raising the torque on the 93 octane map because I'm never going to run it on 93 octane map. For the final, the car made 756 wheel horsepower and 590 foot-pounds of torque on a rough I think E90 mix, so Ignite Red, or we may have used E98 mixed with 93. It made 756 wheel horsepower. That was 2 years ago. The car has been turned up since then. I don't even know how much boost it makes, like 36 pounds of boost all the way to redline. But she makes significantly more now than she did on the dyno. I haven't had access to a dyno in about 1.5 years, so we couldn't retune it or double check our numbers or anything like that after all these revisions to the turbo kit. But we're estimating that it's making over 800 wheel horsepower and 620 foot-pounds of torque or so. Still limited on the torque. We just don't want to give it full send. It's just not safe. So that is how, pretty much in a nutshell, how this car has lived on stock pistons for the last 2 years. So yeah, this is pretty much my entire build. It's taken me in the ballpark of 8 years to build. She puts down the power. She's super fun to drive. She's streetable, which I love. She gets down. She's fast. She's quick. And that's pretty much it, man. I don't know why I said man. And that pretty much wraps up the S4 build. And I have a small wiener. No, I don't. All right, shit. How should we start this? Well, shit. I don't even know how to like address the viewers. What's up? It's Tim from 2 a.m. later. So much spaghetti in this thing. Sorry.
You fit so much spaghetti in here?
Oh my god, that would actually go so hard. We should probably just use that.
I have it already.
What's up, YouTube? I'm not saying that shit.